Hey guys, I am the Comics Kid 2099 and I wanted to do a different kind of video for today. I was thinking about how we have had so many different interpretations of Superman outside of the comic books. We've had something like 3 or 4 different Superman TV shows, if you like to think of Smallville as a legitimate form of Superman. We've had like 6 movies, live action movies. I'm not even counting the animated movies. We've had a whole bunch more of those. We've had radio shows. We've had a lot of different Superman material out there. And I was thinking about how if I wanted to pick and choose from all of these, how I would be picking different actors from all of these if I wanted to cast my perfect Superman cast. For example, I would have Christopher Reeves as Superman. I think he was a pretty fantastic Superman. I don't necessarily think that he was working with the absolute best material, but I think if he had a really great script, he would have been even better as Superman and Clark Kent than what he was, and he was already pretty good with just a not fantastic script. But I would not cast Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. I think she had really good chemistry with Reeves, but I think she was playing Lois Lane a little too mean-spirited, a little too caustic. I would cast either Erica Durance from Smallville or Amy Adams from the Man of Steel movie. I think both of them played Lois just the right amount of kind of mean, kind of a tough exterior, but also a heart of gold. There's a nice quality to Lois Lane that both of these actresses captured really well, I think. I think Erica Durance also did a really good job of when she was first introduced as Lois. She really didn't like Clark all that much, and by the end of the series, even though that show was astoundingly awful, she did make me believe that she was in love with Clark Kent. And I think she and Tom Welling both did a good job of, when they both started out together, they didn't really like each other, and by the end of Smallville, they were in love with each other. So I would probably lean toward Erica Durance if I had to pick between her or Amy Adams. Moving on, for Chief Perry White of the Daily Planet, I would cast Lane Smith from the TV series Lois and Clark. I think he was the best Perry White, mostly because all of the other Perry Whites really haven't gotten to do anything. In the Christopher Reeve movies of the late 70s, early 80s, he was barely a cameo. And in the Man of Steel movie, we had Lawrence Fishburne. Once again, he was in it, and what he did was pretty good, but he didn't really get to do a whole lot. So I would be going with Lane Smith. Not to mention, even if those other guys had more to work with and it was a little bit more of a competition with who I would be picking, I think Lane Smith did a really good job of playing Perry White as a soft-hearted guy. Too many times, especially in the comics, I see Perry White as being this really gruff, almost mean editor guy, kind of like J. Jonah Jameson. I think it was in Superman Birthright where Perry White was just screaming at his staff in one of the scenes, and I was just thinking, no, that is not Perry White. He is not J. Jonah Jameson of the DC Universe. And that's something that Lane Smith really got, I think. He is not a mean guy. He may be tough when he needs to be, and you would have to be in order to run a newspaper, but he's not a mean guy. He's got a nice quality to him, kind of like Lois Lane, and I think Lane Smith really got that just right. For Lex Luthor, I did not have many villains on this list because when you look at all of the interpretations of Superman outside of comic books, there really haven't been that many villains that have shown up multiple times. For Lex Luthor, I went with Michael Rosenbaum. He was a fantastic Lex Luthor. In my opinion, this guy is a fantastic actor. Mostly outside of Smallville, I've only seen him, well, I haven't seen him, I've heard him doing voice roles. And I really wish that he would do more live action work because I really think that he is a great actor. He played Lex Luthor just about perfectly. Consistently throughout the series of Smallville, when this guy was on the show, he was one of the better parts of the show. Him and the actor who was playing Lionel Luthor, both of them really nailed it just about every time that they were on the show. And I think it would be interesting to see Michael Rosenbaum play a little bit more of the mad scientist Luthor instead of just the businessman Luthor. He was really good at being the businessman Luthor, but I would like to see more of a combination of the two. Half businessman, half mad scientist. That's just my preference for Lex Luthor, so I think it would be really interesting to see Rosenbaum play that version of Luthor. And also, Rosenbaum was about 28 when Smallville started. He's now 41. I think now, if he was playing the not young Lex Luthor, I think he would maybe be even better. He wasn't bad in Smallville, but he was playing the air quotes young Lex Luthor before he gets his start. And I think now that he's in his prime as an actor, so to speak, I think it would be really interesting to see him play air quotes normal Lex Luthor and not young Lex Luthor. For General Zod, this is the only other villain that I have on this list. I went with Terrence Stamps. Terrence Stamps has had the misfortune of being in some not great movies. He was in Elektra, he was in the Get Smart movie, which I enjoyed way back when I watched it, but I haven't seen it recently, so I don't know how well that movie holds up. He was briefly in Star Wars The Phantom Menace. He has been in a lot of stuff that really a lot of people don't seem to remember too fondly. I think his biggest role that people remember him for was the Superman movies, where he played General Zod. Once again, kind of like Christopher Reeves and kind of like some of my choices from Smallville, I don't think that the material that he had was very good at all, but I think this guy would absolutely kill it if he had a really good script to work with. I think he would be much, much better than Michael Shannon as General Zod. And this is not a slight against Michael Shannon, I just think that when any actor is measured up against Terrence Stamps, for the most part, they are going to fall short, and I definitely think that Terrence Stamps could be a phenomenal General Zod. I think he would be really good if he had less comedic stuff like the whole Planet Houston thing. If we had less of that and more of a terrifying general who nearly took over an entire planet, if we had more of that in the script, I think this guy would absolutely nail it as General Zod. For Jor-El, I went with Russell Crowe. It was really down to this guy or Marlon Brando. And Marlon Brando, I kind of think is a little overrated. He has been a good actor in other movies, but in the Superman movie, he was not the best. He wasn't really trying. It's been fairly well recorded that with that movie, he was basically just there for a paycheck. So I definitely was not going to pick Marlon Brando for this role. I think Russell Crowe, he plays the maverick adventure scientist kind of thing really well in the Man of Steel movie, and he also kind of cares about his son. I didn't get the feeling at any point in the Richard Donner Superman movie that Marlon Brando cared that his planet was about to die or that his son was going to live on a planet and he was never going to get to see him again. I never got the impression that Marlon Brando actually cared. Russell Crowe, I got a little bit of emotion from that guy. I think he was a really good Jor-El, and of course Jor-El is not a character who should be overly present in the Superman mythos. He should really just be the guy who sends Superman on his way, and then you don't see him a whole lot. A lot of the interpretations of Superman, both in the comics and outside of the comics, like to have Jor-El as a ghost who is continually there giving advice to Superman. In my opinion, we don't really need that because it lessens Superman as a character, but whatever. I think for the time that we do get to see Jor-El in my own ideal perfect Superman movie, Russell Crowe would be the guy that you would want to go with. For Jonathan Kent, Clark's other father, I would go with John Schneider. John Schneider played a really good Jonathan Kent, but once again, like all of my other choices from Smallville, he did not have a very good script to work with. I really liked him as Jonathan Kent. I really bought that Superman would come from this kind of salt-of-the-earth family. My biggest problem with Smallville's version of Jonathan Kent is that he is so fundamentally against Lex Luthor all the time. I understand that he did not like Lionel Luthor, but the whole idea is he hates Lex Luthor simply because of something that his father did. And I just don't buy that this guy would then raise Superman, who is supposed to be this kind of guy who would love everybody and who wouldn't hold something against somebody because of something their father did. And I don't really buy that this guy would raise Superman to be this kind of perfect human being when he has such a problem with Lex Luthor for something that he didn't even do. So I think, once again, like everyone else from Smallville that I have chosen for this list, John Schneider would be really good if he did not have such an awful script that he was working with. I was really surprised that I went with 3 actors from Smallville. I think that show really had a lot of good actors. It was just that the stuff they were working with was astoundingly awful. And for Martha Kent, I went with Diane Lane. It's nothing against Annette O'Toole or anyone else who has played Martha Kent, I just think that Martha Kent in the Man of Steel movie actually got to do more than Kevin Costner's Jonathan Kent, and I actually liked her quite a bit in the Man of Steel movie. Most of the time, it's not that I dislike Martha Kent, it's that I'm fairly neutral on her. I really don't have an opinion one way or another. That's kind of how I am with the Lois and Clark TV show, that's kind of how I am with the Superman movies that we've had, and that's kind of how I am with Smallville, with Annette O'Toole's version of Martha Kent. Diane Lane is the only actress to actually make me care one way or another, so I think that she would be the actress I would go with to play Martha Kent. And there's not many more characters left. For Jimmy Olsen, I went with Justin Whalen, who was the second actor in the Lois and Clark TV show to play Jimmy Olsen. I really liked Michael Landis in the first season of Lois and Clark, and after I started watching season 2, I really began to miss Michael Landis, but I feel like he played Jimmy as being a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and I always look at Jimmy as being kind of the young, goofy sidekick. Not really a sidekick of Superman, but he does not need to be a mature, confident character in the world of Superman. He definitely needs to be young, kind of immature, very inexperienced. And I think Justin Whalen kind of played that better than anyone else has ever played Jimmy. And part of the problem here, once again, is that a whole lot of the other Jimmy Olsens that we've had haven't really had a whole lot to do as Jimmy Olsen. For example, in the Christopher Reeve movies, the Jimmy Olsen there, he was barely a cameo. And then in Superman Returns, once again, barely a cameo. And in Smallville, he was mostly just there to be a love interest. He didn't really have anything to do with the plot. So that's why I'm going with Justin Whalen. And the last choice that I would go with, Supergirl. I have not seen the Helen Slater Supergirl movie. I want to. I've heard it's really bad, but it can't be that bad. I've seen worse movies, I'm certain of that. So I went with Summer Glau. She is the only actress on this list who has played a character here through voice work only. She voiced Supergirl in the Superman Batman Apocalypse movie, and I really think that Summer Glau is fantastic at playing kind of quirky, weird, out-of-their-element characters. She did that really well in the Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles series, and also in Firefly and Serenity. I think she would be just perfect as an adult Kryptonian who is coming to Earth and is experiencing Earth but grew up with Kryptonian culture. With Superman, he's basically a human being. He has all of these powers, but he didn't ever get to live on Krypton and come to this world and have a culture shock. I think Summer Glau would be perfect as the kind of character who comes to Earth and is getting to experience all of this with the knowledge of Krypton as it was. And that's all I have on this list. A lot of other characters I didn't put on this list because they haven't really shown up a whole lot. For example, in the movies, the only villains that we've gotten to see are Lex Luthor and General Zod. We haven't really gotten to see a whole lot of the other characters that I would have liked to have put on this list. And also, with some of the supporting characters, in the stuff outside of the comic books, they haven't really gotten to do a whole lot, so my pickings were fairly slim. So that is my list of who I would cast if I was going to make a perfect Superman movie. Naturally, a lot of these actors and actresses are too old now, some of them are even dead, but that's okay. In my perfect Superman movie, I would be able to go back in time and pluck these actors and actresses from the point when they were playing these characters, or in the case of someone like Michael Rosenbaum, I would be taking them right now. But that is who I would pick for my perfect Superman movie. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below some of the people that you would like to see interact with each other as Superman characters. I was trying to go with people who have already played these characters. I wasn't casting someone who has never played Superman, for example. Let me know what you guys would do if you had the chance to cast a Superman movie. You can play by the rules that I was playing with in this video, or you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. Let me know in the comments below. And also be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Do all of those things that you love doing on YouTube videos. And I will see you guys tomorrow with another kind of video. Until then, I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.